Am I the jerk for arguing with my mom? Before I begin, I would like it to be known that I am on the waiting list for an autism assessment, and I have quite severe OCD which affects the way I touch things, feel things, and the way I think about certain things. I have had meltdowns over the way socks feel with specific pairs of shoes, or how my hair feels on my neck. I have always had a huge issue with bras. I developed breasts very early, earlier than 10 years old, and have never liked bras. I have tried countless amounts of them on to try to find a reliable one. However, the moment it is on my skin, I feel like crying. It is so uncomfortable that I immediately remove it. I used to be forced to wear one to school, but it was so uncomfortable that I would often pull it up above my breasts, so the discomfort went away. It is not just physical discomfort, I feel tearful and disgusted every time I wear one or even think of them. For about a year now, my mother has been absolutely focused on convincing me to wear one. She keeps telling me things such as, they will make your breasts look smaller, it will make others more comfortable, you need to support your breasts, you will have a nicer figure. She has dragged me into many shops with other people to attempt to get the other person to convince me to purchase one, and has even shouted at me in public for not wanting one. Long story short, she really wants me to buy a bra. Things bubbled up massively today on the way to the pub. My mother, my father, and I were walking along together. My mother was acting a bit off, looking at me strangely and making passive-aggressive comments about my shoes. Suddenly, she very loudly exclaimed that I had to get used to wearing a bra. Our conversation went how it usually does, with lots of back and forth, until I asked why she brought it up in front of my father and in public. She did not reply. I knew that the pub trip was going to be awkward, so I turned to walk back home. As I did, my father told me to stop sulking and that if I was going to come with them, I would have to lighten up. My mother also added that if I kept talking about this topic, she would send me home herself. To that, I simply walked home, feeling incredibly self-conscious about my chest. Now I am at home and thinking about every time we have fought about this issue. Nobody other than her has ever brought up my chest, and I have never caught anybody looking at it. Simply the thought of the fabric and the feeling of my chest being trapped makes my skin prickle. However, I hear constantly that mother knows best, and she keeps repeating that it is for my own good. I feel bad about walking away, but I was so conscious of my chest that I did not want to be in public any longer. Am I the antagonist for arguing with her over this issue? You are not the jerk. Your mom sounds like a pain in the ass, always bringing up the same argument about bras. It's pretty telling that she tries to gaslight you and make it seem like you're the one who has an issue. She seems more concerned with how you look to others rather than how you actually feel. Am I the jerk for being the reason why my sibling has stopped showering? I, a 16-year-old female, live with my only brother, a 13-year-old male, and our parents. My brother has never been the most clean person, and while his bedroom is very neat and organized, he constantly leaves his trash and toys throughout our family's kitchen and living room. There are almost always Legos covering the floor and furniture, despite having a whole Lego studio set up in our basement for him. The mess is extremely aggravating to me as I already have pretty bad anxiety. It is annoying because I am the only person who it bothers, so I am the only person left to pick it up. Last week, my brother announced to me that he was going to start showering in my shower. We have 2 showers in our house, one in my parents' bedroom's bathroom and one in the only other bathroom, which I have been the only one using for the past year. The whole family used to only use the shower in our parents' bathroom because it is much bigger and nicer. However, last year I cleaned up the other shower and bought shelves for it in order for me to start using it as my shower. While it sounds silly, this is the only place I have to myself, besides my room, that is not covered with my brother's junk. I actually take care of it and clean it every week. Also, I have a decent-sized collection of body washes that I have bought with my own money from my job. When I heard that he wanted to start using this space, I felt a little upset, as this shower is pretty important to me. My parents sided with me after telling them, as they said that he can keep using the shower in their bathroom that he has been using for the past 5 or 6 years. Now he hasn't showered for the past few days and I am starting to feel bad. However, I just want one space to myself, since he gets to mess up our entire house with his large Lego collection and toys. I simply don't have time to clean up more since I play 2 sports, go to school and work, and he doesn't ever feel obligated to clean despite not really doing anything besides going to school, playing with Legos and watching TV. Am I the asshole? You did the right thing. If he's been using the other shower for the past 5-6 years, there's no reason you should have to allow him to switch to yours. He can always do what he did before and use the other shower. This showering strike is a pretty basic manipulation tactic. Your parents should handle it. Don't give in. Am I the jerk? Who is in the wrong? Both mid-30s, her with a chance to get her kid back. So the human services person needs to inspect the home so my girlfriend can get unsupervised visits with her child. It is the day of the inspection and my girlfriend has been out all night drinking with friends. You see where this is going. An hour before the person gets here, she pulls up smelling like alcohol. This sets me off as I knew, or thought I knew, how much she wanted her child in her life. We start arguing. Yes, this is my fault. I should have known there is no reasoning with her when she is like this. I was just saying one day, just one day, you couldn't stay sober for a few hours and had to be out all night, coming home disheveled and looking like a drunk at the last minute. She gets angry and starts walking away down the driveway, right as my phone rings. It is the inspector. Here is where she blames me for answering it, even though we are expecting him to pull in any minute. He says he is going to be late and needs to reschedule with my girlfriend. She is still in the driveway as I yell, "Hey, the guy wants to talk to you. He is running late." She blows me off, yelling and cursing at me, and keeps walking. I tell the guy, "I guess now is not a good time. Maybe try calling back later." He says he needs to hear that from my girlfriend, as it is her child, and not my call. So I catch up to her while talking to the guy, saying she is just stressing about the inspection because she does not want it to go bad. I try to tell the guy just to call back later, and he keeps asking for her email and to talk to her to confirm a new time. My girlfriend gets upset that I did not just hang up on him. She takes the phone from me and walks away talking to the guy. I cannot really hear with her back to me walking away. Anyway, a couple of minutes go by and she gives me my phone back and says it was rescheduled as he was running late. Okay, great, dodge that bullet. My girlfriend now starts flipping out on me, saying why did I answer it and I should have just hung up on him. So we argue some more, me basically calling her out on her drinking problem because one day, just one day, be sober. She storms off down the road. I'm doing some work cleaning out my car in the driveway, and about an hour later the guy pulls in. I was like, what? She rescheduled it to be an hour later, and she gets angry, storms off an hour earlier, and has not come back. So I say hello and introduce myself. He explains what is going on, just needs to inspect if it is a safe environment. He interviews me also. I give him all my information and let him know I have no criminal history, have a job, etc. He says those are all positives, and it looks good, but really wishes my girlfriend was there for the inspection also. That was the only negative thing he said, mentioning if she does this several more times it could be a problem. I acknowledge it and also made the comment that him being late kind of messed up her schedule, which contributed to the no-show. Clearly my mistake was trying to help her. The child deserves better. P.S. The child is 13 years old. It is only for visitation, which is 1 day a week for a few hours. Everyone sucks here. Helping her get visitation of a child she cannot take care of and refuses to get sober for it is irresponsible. Your girlfriend is an alcoholic who has lost her child, and she is upset with you for expecting her to straighten up. It's unfair to that child to be subjected to an unstable environment. Save yourself and reconsider your involvement in this situation. Am I the jerk for choosing my bridesmaid dress? My boyfriend's, Bob, brother, is getting married in a couple of months. Recently, Peter casually mentioned to me that his fiancée, Lana, would need my help, kind of as a bridesmaid. I was happy to help and agreed immediately. Later that night, I was talking to Bob's parents over the phone, and Bob's mom asked me if I would be buying a dress beforehand or where the wedding would be held. I mentioned that I was planning to get a semi-formal dress for a friend's wedding that I could also wear to Peter and Lana's wedding. Then it hit me that since I would be the bridesmaid, maybe it would make sense for me to coordinate with the maid of honor in terms of color. Bob's mom agreed that it would look better for the photos and told me to speak to Lana directly. That night, I messaged Lana, and she agreed about matching colors but said they hadn't found a dress for the maid of honor yet. I told her I would wait for them to let me know the color, and if timing was tight, I'd buy my dress first. Later, Lana found a bridesmaid dress online and asked for my opinion. To be honest, it was a bit tacky because it had a huge bow on the front and puffy princess sleeves. However, in the listing online, the dress came with different necklines, so I told her that I liked the dress in the color but might choose a different neckline. I saw a few options suggested below the listing and sent a couple to her. When I told Bob about the dress discussion, he mentioned it to Peter, who immediately became extremely angry and said that we had gotten it all wrong and that the bridesmaid and maid of honor wear different dresses. Confused and wanting to avoid misunderstandings, I immediately messaged Lana explaining my intention of wanting to coordinate colors so I do not stand out in the photos. I explained why I suddenly thought of getting a dress and mentioned that I only sent the other options as a suggestion for her and her maid of honor to look at since they hadn't found a dress yet. Not because I wanted to shop around for dresses. The next day, I received a single message back from Lana saying that Peter said that the bride should be the fanciest, second the maid of honor, and last would be the bridesmaids, with no response to any of my other messages. I felt wronged and accused of trying to steal the spotlight, so I called her to clarify. She asked to see where I was planning on getting my dress from, so I sent her the website of a local boutique that sold dresses specifically listed as wedding guest dresses. She said the dresses were too inappropriate and revealing for her wedding. She also mentioned that her wedding dress is really plain, so if I picked the fancy dress, then she would have to pick something more eye-catching for her maid of honor. In the end, I reassured her that if she is sure about having me as a bridesmaid, then I would happily wear whatever dress she prepares. You are not the bad guy in this situation, but it might be best to back out. Peter is being a bit of a groomzilla and meddling in things he doesn't understand, like bridesmaid dresses. The communication here is horrible, and if Lana wanted you to be a bridesmaid, she should have formally asked. Maybe just attend as a guest and offer to help with other stuff if needed. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my uncle's wedding? I, a 19-year-old female, haven't had a good relationship with my mother's side of the family for 6 years. When I was 12, approaching 13, my mother lost custody of me and my older half-sister due to neglect and allowing her boyfriend at the time to make passes at my older sister, who wasn't even 16 at the time, and abuse me physically. He would leave bruises and welts all over me for the smallest things. For instance, during one summer when I was 11, I asked to go over to the neighbor's house to play in their small pool. I was told yes at the time, but when I went back home, I was punished for getting wet without permission when I had previously asked. I was beaten with a paddle and was almost hit with a dresser drawer that was thrown at me. My sister and I were in and out of the system and had several open cases. When I was 13, my biological father got custody of me. My mother didn't attempt to fight for me or defend herself in court. My grandparents, who I had thought loved me, seemed ecstatic that I was leaving and rushed to get custody of my sister now that I was out of the picture. I found out later that my grandmother had called me a lot of work, and my grandfather made me out to be a manipulative liar. In the 6 years that I have been away from them, they haven't attempted to keep contact with me at all. My mother will send me money if I ask, but she's never paid official child support like she was supposed to. None of them even asked about my high school graduation. Almost a year ago, my sister told me about how my uncle was getting married this November. Recently, my mother texted me and mentioned coming up with a way to get me to the wedding. I live all the way in Mississippi, and the wedding is in Indiana. I told her I didn't want to go because I hadn't spoken to any of them in a long time, and it would be awkward to have me there now. No one knows anything about the bride's personality either. Every time I ask what she's like, I'm told she seems nice, but that's all anyone can say about her. I don't have the money for a plane ticket or a car to drive up there either. My mom suggested that my grandpa could come get me, but I'd rather not ride 11 hours in the car with a man who called me manipulative when I was 13. My sister texted me last week, and we ended up getting into an argument about the wedding. She said I was going to the wedding whether she had to drag me there herself. I told her that I was 19 and wasn't going anywhere I didn't want to. She proceeded to tell me that family should be there for one another and that I was being selfish. I asked her where she has been all these years. She's 21. She made excuses, saying that everyone had a lot going on. She also told me that she wasn't even doing this for me, but for my uncle, and told me not to call or text her again. I blocked her, but now I'm wondering if I'm really the bad person for this. You are not in the wrong. It's clear that the family has a funny way of showing they are there for each other. Everyone always has a lot going on, but if something or someone is important, time will be made. They haven't been there for any part of your life, so they have no claim to your presence now. Am I the jerk for telling my parents I struggled with making friends? I, an 18-year-old female, wanted to go to a friend's graduation party 2 months ago, but my parents did not let me. I decided to write a note to explain to my parents why I value my friendships, and they completely flipped out on me. For starters, I had written my parents' notes before because I wanted to be clear and not emotional. Those notes were not the nicest and were mean rants, so this time I wrote a nicer one, focused more on me rather than what they did. I even asked trusted leaders in my life to find any disrespect, and they said it was okay and straightforward. My parents, however, flipped out and started yelling at me. The note summarized my experiences. I have always felt like the odd one out in friend groups and never felt like I fit in. I switched schools in the 7th grade to a K-12 school, and it was abrupt. I struggled to make new friends when everyone was already established. In the 8th grade, COVID-19 happened. I started to make friends, but I did not really talk to them as I did not have a cell phone. I only spoke to my family and did not talk to my friends. Luckily, in the 9th grade, I caught up with my old friend group and had fun with them, but they left the school for different high schools. It was lonely the first few months because I knew people, but they were not close to me at first, and they already built relationships online during the pandemic. During the pandemic, I had secret social media accounts because I felt like I was going insane during that time. My parents got mad and wrote it off as me being sneaky and bad. The pandemic and moving schools affected my ability to make friends, and I struggled with mental health. My parents were also fighting a lot, and I had no escape. I felt like I was going insane. I thought my parents would understand, but they were livid. I had a small section in my note about how I felt like my parents were not the easiest to talk to, but I did not say anything negative about them. They told me I had bashed them and was being dramatic because everyone went through COVID and I was not special. They told me I would have to make new friends regardless in life. My mom told me she felt I hated the family and thought nothing of them. I have not been the kindest to my parents over the years, and I have been acknowledging that. My parents are Nigerian, so they believe in corporal punishment. I was hit a lot and screamed at as a child. My mom even once punished me by forcing my clothes off in front of everyone in my family because I did not go and shower when I was supposed to on time. Sometimes I wonder if I am being dramatic and holding on to grudges for longer than necessary, and if I am bashing my parents. Am I the antagonist? Your parents are abusive, not strict. Hitting you, degrading you, isolating you, and forcing you to strip for any reason is all abuse. Cultural differences do not apply here. This is still abuse. Focus on becoming independent of them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.